channel. So today we're going to go through all of the eyeshadow palettes that I used in the month of November. There are a lot, as always. I can't help myself. I mean, I feel like I should be the type of person who should just go into maybe a handful of palettes a month, but I end up being that other person that just like, no, I'm going to go into this one, and then I'm going to go into this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. So we've ended up with a lot of palettes again. There are 18 palettes here that I used once, and then there are others that I used more than once in the month. Crazy, I know. And sometimes I just go into one shade in the palette, and then I count that as a use, obviously, but yeah. I have a problem, and it is that I have too many eyeshadow palettes. I feel like I don't want to neglect them, so I just end up going into them. And also, I did have my November challenge, which a bunch of you were supporting me and enjoying that. And I think I ended up using some palettes that I probably didn't allow myself to use in the previous months, but because I was doing that, I was like, let me use this palette for this look. This will be fun. And it actually allowed me to not feel guilty about not using my Project Pan palettes, which is good, obviously. So let's go through them in terms of how many times I use them. So we're going to start with the 18 that I used only once, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm just going to get through this. Okay, so the first one is the Molten Metals from Gloss Gods. I actually forgot to include this one, and then I was looking, I was like, hang on a minute, I just went into this one sometime last week. So I do like this palette. It's just not as special as some of their other ones, but these metallics are absolutely gorgeous. So I don't actually have any complaints. I think I only went into the one shade, which is Platinum down here, but I do plan to use more of these. This is one of the palettes that I wanted to use over the season, and I still want to use more, maybe the brassy tones. I think that would be really fun. I also went into my Cosmic Beauty Neutrals palette. This is a contender for my Pan That palette for next year. However, I'm not going to lie, there aren't that many votes for this one, so it most likely won't win, but you can still vote for it if you want to. But yeah, this is a beautiful palette, and I did end up going into it just the once for this month. I think I would like to go into it a little bit more, honestly. It's just the type of color story that I think I'm gravitating towards. So anyway, I only used that once this last month. Another contender for my Pan That palette next year is the Flower Moon. I used this once as well. And this one looks like this. So I ended up going into, which shade was it? I think it was Flower Moon shade, or it was this one of these two, for I think it was a members look, and I think that was it. So this one definitely, by far neglected in my collection. I also went into the Gloss Gods Let's Get Nude, another Pan That palette contender. I think I went into all of my Pan That palette contenders this month, just because I kind of wanted to see how I felt about them. And I went into this one, and I really, really enjoyed the look. So I was like, you know what? Let me throw it in as my Pan That palette contender. I think it got one vote. It's gotten one vote so far, so it will not be my Pan That palette for next year unless, I don't know, 100 of you vote for it right now. But it's a pretty nude palette for sure, and it does have some special shades. And I think I didn't give it as much credit as I needed to when I first got it. But if you love these like rich, warm tone neutral palettes with a twist, it's actually really beautiful. Okay, then we have my Hocus Pocus from ColourPop. I was looking at ColourPop last night. I'm still not buying anything. I'm still on my no buy. I was looking to see what they have, and they really don't have many new things. Obviously, they have the Grinch collection. I don't care about the Grinch itself, but the actual color story of that palette is really pretty. I was like, and then I was like, no, Ilka Customs, I'll pay a fortune for it. There's no need for that. But this one, I went into it once this last month, and I'm trying to think. This is actually in a project now. So this is in my Pan and Every palette. So I expect to be going into this a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure which one I want to hit pan on. I think it will be this one over here, but yeah, I only used it the once this month, but I definitely need to use it more because I need to hit pan. This one, sadly, I only went to it once, and this actually is also in Pan and Every palette. I just haven't been neglecting this one. This is from Glamshop, and this is the shade that I want to hit pan on. I think I'm going to do it pretty fast. I just used it once though, so you know, I have to use it more. But yeah, this one I'm not too fussed about. This one is in my Pan Those Eyeshadows, the Vintage Glam from Gloss Gods. Only used it once this month. I think I just was using everything else. I actually also think that this one is kind of competing with my Glamshop palette that I'm trying to hit pan on. It's not that the shade is the same, it's this one down here, but I use them for the same reasons. And so, or I don't know, sometimes it's hard to use them all. I have to say, I kind of went into this palette for another look, and I ended up wiping it off, but because I kind of realized that some of these shades are getting too old, and I kind of feel bad about that. So I went into Old Soul, which has always been more of a chunky shimmer, but I feel like it's turning. I don't know what it is about it. So I might do like a chopping block video. This might end up being a palette where I depot some shades and then I get rid of some other shades, because I also went into this matte over here, which is called Fading Memories, and it faded away to nothing. So it was definitely a faded memory for sure. Perfect name for it, honestly. So this is an older palette. Obviously they did come back with this, and maybe they re-upped their formula, or I don't know, but I do think that some of these shades are going bad, which is such a shame, because this has always been one of my favorites from Gloss Gods, and I think in general it's an absolutely stunning palette, but I think the formula is going, unfortunately. So I might end up depotting that at some point. It'll be interesting to see if any of my other Gloss Gods does that, because that is one of the oldest ones, like I mentioned. I think actually at this point it is my oldest one, because my oldest one technically my mother took. So yeah, that is my oldest one from Gloss Gods. So I'm wondering if the rest will end up like that. I hope not, because I have a lot. I also went into my ABH Jackie Aina palette. This is in a project. This is in a No Pan Left Behind project that I recently rolled in. So I will be using this a little bit more over the coming months. But for the purpose of November, I only use this palette once. And what did I use? I don't know. I can't remember. I think it's in a video though, I'm pretty sure. Or in a short. It would be in the short somewhere. I also went into my NARS Stargaze palette. This one is really pretty. And I want to actually use this a little bit more, because I really like these very chocolatey tones over here, and I think they could do a really pretty look. So I think I probably will go into this over the winter. I also used my Revolution The Enchanted Icon once this month as well. I realized that I had only used one shade since I bought it, so I went into it and then I used one other shade. So I still have yet to use any other shade but 2 shades in this palette, which is stupid. I just need to do like one actual look with this palette, which I will. So maybe we'll see that again this next month. I went into my What's Up Beauty Monsoon palette. So this one I did just recently. I went into these 3 shades and then the actual Revolution palette that I just showed you for a look in one of my shorts. And I just did like a nude with a blue lid. It was nice. I liked it. And I think ever since I removed the purple in here, I like the color story of this palette a lot more. I think the purple threw me off, especially where it was in the palette. I just don't think it was like a warm tone purple. It was kind of like this, maybe more purpley. I don't know. I don't think it suits the palette. I think the palette like this is perfect. The purple threw me off. So now that I don't have it, I actually like looking at this color story and I find it very interesting. So maybe I'll use that a little bit more. I also went into my Menagerie Cosmetics Barrel palette once. This was for I think this was like for a random look. What did I go into? Was it the green? I have a feeling it was this green down here. So just one shade, but I went into it. I do feel like I neglect that palette a lot though. I also went into my Alter Ego Artemis palette, which I really enjoyed. This one you can see in a short. Did I do an actual video with this? I'm not sure. I don't remember. But I went in. Oh no, I did. I was doing a Get Ready With Me, and I spoke about and I went into the orange and the red and some other warmer tones but it was a get ready with me talking about something else. I don't remember, but I went into this one. And then I also went into my Gloss Gods Color of Rain. This one, I only went into the one shade. I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was Drip Drop right here. Very pretty palette. This was in my Project Level Up, but I decided to pause on it. So technically that going into that shade doesn't really count towards my Project Level Up because it's not really in that project anymore. I also went into my, oops, my gosh, I've already dropped this palette once today. That could have been the second. There's no casualties though. This is my Cosmic Beauty Delicious Delights palette. And for some reason it wants to end up on the floor. This is beautiful. It's like one of my only sort of rainbow-ish palettes. And I went into this one time too. What did I go into in this one? I don't remember. I don't remember what I went into this, but I went into it. Also went into my Peach Perfect palette from Gourmande Girls. So this one, I think was just for a green. I think it was like a random video, like one of those palette bingos. I don't remember, but I went into this one once. Also went into my Beauty Bay Midnight palette once as well. Huge palette. I think again, this was a random shade. Gosh, I really don't remember what happened this month, but yeah, went into this one once. And then I also went into my P. Louise, which I just did recently. So this is more in my brain because I just went into it last week. This is obviously massive and huge, and I want to make an actual effort to go into this a little bit more while it's still in my collection and while I can still use it. So that's what I plan to do. All right, those are all 18 palettes that I used only once in the month of November. Let's get into the palettes where I used them 2 times, so at least 2 days. I've got another Makeup Revolution one. This is the Muse Icon, and I went into this one twice in November, so I couldn't tell you which looks they were. Obviously, throughout this video, I will have looks plastered, so hopefully I can find them all. Next up, we've got my Dangerous Love, also from Makeup Revolution. And this one I also went into twice. This is in my No Pan Left Behind project, so that's why I've been going into it. And I really just have some of the shimmers left. I'm almost done with that, so hopefully this will only be around like 1 more month, and then I can go back in my drawers for a little bit. Next up, I've got the Lunar Beauty Moonshroom, where I used twice as well. I think pretty much it was because I was hitting pan in this one, and I don't think I've gone into it since oh, actually no, that's a lie. I went into this shade and I don't know. I definitely went into this shade more recently. But yeah, I used this twice this month. And then lastly, in the ones that I've used twice is my Glaminatrix Nearly Natural palette. This one is really pretty, and I kind of just wanted to go into it. I went into, I know I went into these shades, and then at some point I went into these rusty shades too, because it was more like a palette bingo. But yeah, really enjoyed going into this palette this month. Okay, next up, the next 2 I went into 3 times. So we've got this palette from Glamshop. This is in my pan those eyeshadows, so I want to hit pan in this one here, and so I've gone into this palette 3 times, I think, just for that shade. Then we have the Aurora Struck from Colourpop. This one I put together. I really liked it. It was also a pan that palette option for next year where you all voted, and I don't think it's gonna win. It did get quite a few votes, but definitely not as much as some other palettes. But I just thought it'd be a really fun palette to use as a pan that palette. However, I did use it 3 times this month, and I had a lot of fun with just going into some of these shades. I just think it's a really fun, unique color story, and I don't know, I just like having them, even if I just go into 1 or 2 shades for a look and I pair it with something else, I think it works for me, the way that I've rearranged it. So really do like that. And I feel like I'm going into a lot more since I've done that too, because the original is just far too dark in the last 2 rows for me. Okay, moving on, we have the palettes where I've used them 4 times each. We've got the Avatar Air palette from Lethal Cosmetics. This one looks like this, and I finally finally finished it. It was in my project level up for months and months and months, and I finally was able to hit pan in the final shade this last month. So this will be going back in my drawers. I'm sure I will miss it and pull it at some point, but I've used it quite a lot in the last 6 months or so. So yeah, definitely a loved palette in my collection, and so it should be. And then I also went into my Earthy from Beauty Bay 4 times because this one is also in a project. So I actually have 2 shades in my Pan Those eyeshadows that I'm working on. I've got the shade Lime and also Palm down here. And of course no pans in there, but hopefully at some point I will get a move on and hit some pans in this palette. Next up, we have a palette where I used it 5 times. It is one of my Pan That palettes for the year, the Naughty Nude from Huda Beauty. I knew I was slowing down on this one, and it's been about a couple months now where I've only used it 5 times each month, which is pretty slow for a Pan That palette. But I knew it was going to happen. I just kept it around. Obviously, my Pan That palette finale is coming up. There's not really much to show, so I don't mind spoiling that one. And then the next palette I've used 8 times this month, which is my Lethal Cosmetics Avatar Fire palette. And this one, beautiful, it's in my project level up, so it's the reason why I'm using it quite a bit more, because I do need to hit 2 pans in this palette and use every single shade twice. So now I just need to like work on the pans pretty much. And I'm not entirely sure where they're going to be. I think that one's going to be one of them, and then one of the shimmers is going to be the next pan. And then finally, the palette that I've used the most is my Pan That palette, the Shadow Kiss from Alter Ego. I do use one shade in particular a lot in my eyebrows, but I feel like I've used this palette a lot for other looks as well. So, you know, I don't think it's just been because of my eyebrows. This is the shade that I use all the time in my eyebrows. I haven't actually in the last few days. But yeah. This one's been really fun to use this whole year. Quite honestly, it's been a favorite of mine, and I really love that I have a bunch of pans in it. So I'm happy that I continue to still use it quite a lot. My Pan That palette update or finale will be in a week or 2, something like that. So we'll see if I get any more progress on those. But yeah, those are all of the palettes that I used in the month of November. It is quite absurd. It is quite absurd. It's not quite half of the palettes that I have in my collection, but it's almost like it is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I do this every single month. I use between like 25 to 30 palettes every single month. It's just absurd, like I mentioned. So anyway, so that is it for my update. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe and all that lovely stuff, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!